Welcome to the Sharpest College Football Podcast. This is our week 2 preview. If you want all the niceties and introductions, please go back to part 1 where we reviewed week 1. Robert, let's get right into it. But before we do, if this is your first time, this is my glossary of the metrics that I use. Go ahead and take a screenshot of this, refer to it throughout this podcast and later episodes. Let's get right to the BuckMetrics through week 1. Top 10 player apexes. I'm going to really just separate this out. And boy, now this is going to sound a little self-serving. Hey, great for lighting up Jacksonville State, Ethan Vasco. Good for you. I really need to just call out a few here that did these against the Power 5 teams. Drew Aller did not see that coming. Diego Pavia didn't see it coming to the extent of a 230 apex. We knew he's talented, but boy, quite a debut in the SEC. Miller Moss, not a surprise, doing it against an LSU defense that had some problems last year, but they did look better. And then Cam Ward against a Florida defense that was definitely gettable last year. Those, I'd probably say the best, and easy to say is the top of the list here. Drew Aller with a 251. Good fit for the Andy Kotelnicki, he said carefully. Offense at Penn State, and James Franklin was smart enough to get out of the way and not run interference like he's done lately.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think it's very interesting. A lot of people, when you go back on the spring game there, people were like, oh, Penn State, Drew Aller didn't look particularly good in the spring game, but they, just lit up West Virginia. Now, again, we didn't think West Virginia was particularly a great team, but again, that is a Power 4 team.
On the road.
Yeah, on the road. So again, that's legit, right? Him on that list, that's legit. Diego Pavia against a team that's one of the favorites now, probably for the was maybe not sure now, but was one of the favorites for the ACC. That one's legit as well. And again, USC Miller Moss, obviously USC, huge Heisman improvement odds there against LSU, an SEC team, right? I think that's probably him and Drew Aller, probably the two most impressive stat lines there and performances this week comparative to expectations. People are really high on Cam Ward right now. I would remind them that Florida was a deeply flawed defense last year, and I think that has not fixed itself. So again, like that's one of the reasons I forgot to say this in part 1, but another reason why I want to give Billy Napier a Narduzzi Award is you made Miami look good. You made Miami's defense look good, and you made their offense also look good. So like straight up, again, nothing against Cam Ward. I think he's great. I just don't think this Miami team is particularly good based on everything I've ever seen Miami produce in the Mario Cristobal era. So again, huge. We're starting to see the top of this list, and this is arguably a Heisman list basically. And I think again, it's a live Heisman list. Again, not everybody played FBS, so we don't have stuff on that. But again, really good start for some of those guys.
Yeah, one other thing, just I know it's only against Charlotte, but good sign that right out of the gate, the quarterback at JMU for a brand new coach, they had a lot of roster overhaul issues. Just came out firing as well. That's encouraging. The coach is good. I was a little concerned about what year 1 might look like. Now, if they can play Charlotte every week, great. They'd probably dominate the American, but good sign for a first week, like we talked about Indiana doing defensively.
Yeah.
All right. The top 10 team GGABs. Now, this is skewed because it's a cumulative stat. So Georgia Tech has had a nice beginning of the season against one Power 5, Power 4 team, and a really rebuilding, we'd say, P5 team. So take that for what it's worth. Same for Nevada, but Jesus, I didn't expect them to be anything resembling competent, and they did face a pretty good defense in SM. Boise State, no surprise there. Not a lot here. If I just look in the right-hand column, aside from SMU, I see basically a lot of overmatched lower-level defenses. I'm going to include Florida State in there just to be mean. So really just maybe the takeaway here is my under 2.5 wins for Nevada is in deep peril right now.
Yeah, I think so too. And this is the other part to it too, right? We looked at that performance against SMU and we are like, oh no, is SMU not good? And then SMU immediately laid the wood chipper down to Houston Christian there. But this is now maybe, hey, maybe Nevada was better than we thought they were, right? This is the piece to it, right? And I always say, hey, if you think one team is good, one team's bad, they play about equal to each other, both of them are bad. And that's probably true of Colorado against North Dakota State. But At times, sometimes both teams could actually be better than the one team that you thought was bad could actually be better than you think, and that might be the case here with Nevada. The better Nevada does, the better we are with SMU. And again, we liked SMU to win the ACC, and those tickets are after whatever that was last weekend and whatever that was last night. Those SMU tickets are not dead.
I will just blame you a little bit because I did actually put out a little cry for help in our Mountain West preview when I literally said that I have a weakness for Kirkland vodka in situations like Nevada that just bite me in the butt. And Robert, as my co-host, you saw me going towards that wrong path and you did not set me aside. There was no intervention. So I blame you, buddy. You failed on that one as my co-host.
Yes.
All right. Top 10 player Ryans. This is always fun just to see like new names that come out from out of nowhere. Lot here. We all knew about McMillan. 244 Ryan's a good month for a lot of players, a lot of good players. I go down the right here and I look at basically things that resemble something of maybe a functional defense. Gonna go to Harrison Wallace. Penn State is just the one thing that they've lacked is just basically an explosive passing game. This is a good sign. Again, in a road situation, being able to do that. Stanford's defense kind of stunk last year, and I think they still stink, but Mr. Betch was just pretty much unguardable, again, on the road. Good on him. I'm just going to give these two a lot more credit than the guy from Maryland lighting up a horrible Connecticut defense. These are the two that stand out to me. And anything else that stands out to you on these?
No, that monster Ryan against New Mexico. That guy just went off. And again, another reason why they won that game. But again, early on in this season, a lot of this is just dotted with big performances in one game, right? Wait for it to have more time. But again, Harrison Wallace III, Penn State needed receivers. That might be the fit for them, right? Again, Penn State, a lot of expectations this year. If they're going to make a deep run, get to the college football playoff, this is what you need. You need these kinds of players.
Yeah. Keep an eye on North Texas, too. That might be something to keep an eye on, maybe for next week. All right. The top 10 team defensive apexes. 100 is average. If you're in negative territory, you really shut down something. A lot of mismatches here. I'm going to read into this maybe the opposite. We'll come back to that Notre Dame in a second. This is just a crap fest. Michigan State and Florida Atlantic. Okay, great. Ohio State, you shut down Akron. Goody for you. I read this and I get to be a broken record sometimes. I knew Notre Dame's defense is going to be good, but if you're a Power Four conference, if you're an SEC team at that, in pretty clearly what's going to be the conference with by far the best quarterbacking, you can't do this. You can't have a negative 43 apex. And going back to my broken record thing, I would have liked somebody with a lot more broader experience than Colin Klein living inside the Kansas State hermetically sealed shell for 5, 10 years, whatever. He was a nice OC there, but this is a completely different ball game. That's my takeaway from here. I guess the other thing too is Arizona State strikes me now under Kenny Dillingham as the gutsy little team that's going to really be a nuisance or just no fun to play until they run out of players. It just seems to be like that's going to be their character as long as he's the coach and until he really gets the roster filled out there.
Yeah, Arizona State, watch out for them. That was a team I liked, and I bet they're over on the season win total, and I'm very happy with that right now. Again, they're going to be a fun team. This Big 12, it seems a bit open. Utah looked really good. Kansas also looked really good. For some reason, Oklahoma State's ranked. I'm not sure why, but whatever. That's a conversation for another day. But no, there's some room in there. Maybe they can do something. I'm not sure if they can win the Big 12, but they could definitely get to a bowl, and they could definitely be competitive in the Big 12 this year. And then, well, if you're competitive in the Big 12 this year, what happens next year when if the head coach of Utah retires? So you've got a shot here.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. The top 10 team defensive GGABs, your best run defenses. Maybe what sticks out to me here is a little bit is UNLV. Now, again, Houston, game one under a totally new coaching staff. But UNLV had just horrible problems on defense last year. And I like that their defensive coach, Barry Odom, this is an encouraging step forward that they had one of the best defensive performances against the run, which was a problem last year. You look at some of these other teams that got shut down. I don't really think I expected much of anything in terms of a running game from them. This is no surprise. Georgia shutting down Clemson's weak offensive line. Kennesaw State verifying my skepticism in them with the whole G-Gab of 35 yards. So my winner here, and Arizona State, again, plucky, just shutting down Wyoming on both sides of the ball. Complete dominance. So I'd say these two are my kind of big winners here, Arizona State and UNLV, in terms of run defense this week.
Yeah, I think the interesting one to watch out there for is Michigan. That's an interesting number, right? We expected Michigan to take a step back, and I think they have. Obviously, they beat Fresno, didn't cover, but if you're looking for regressions, I think that you're seeing it's much more clear that regressions on offense rather than defense, and that could potentially be relevant in a few more slides. So we'll foreshadow there.
Yeah, the one thing I will say is I'm out on a limb here. Going into the season, I was very skeptical of Fresno State's offense. Their offensive coordinator has 1 year of experience, and it was basically not that impressive. He basically did not improve Mikey Keene at all. So look, if you're the best in the country, great. Just I'm not really sure what you did it against here in Fresno State. Oh, the bum list. Congratulations to Wyoming, their new coach, just continuing that tradition of just awful quarterback play. Evan Svoboda, off the charts, my man. Really good. Kind of talked about a lot of these already on the defensive side of it. Ben Finley, the drop to Akron. All right, you played a good defense in Ohio State, but I don't know. Give him time once he's in the facing MAC defenses, maybe. Max Johnson out for the year. We won't see his name there much longer. Cam Fancher and Aiden Childs, we've covered already. Donovan Smith, come on, dude. You've got a lot of experience. You got to do better than that against a Mountain West team. Want to point out again that Houston was favored somehow. Failed by the market there. Yeah, I guess Connor Wegman again stands out here. That's the only one I really did read much into here.
Yeah, that one. TJ Finley again. He was really good at Texas State. Arguably, it went down to Western Kentucky, and we were like, "That's weird. Why would he do that?" But apparently, the market proved us, or at least the transfer portal market proved us wrong. So that one's weird to me as well. But again, Cam Fancher doing that's worse than expected. Aiden Childs also worse than expected. But yeah, Houston, it was weird. That game was like a 2.5, 2.5. Then it closed. It got up to 3, and
Yeah.
then I just slammed it. I'm like, that's wrong. You're giving me 3.5 points with I think is better team. I took that and the money line. I also outsmarted myself because I was like, oh, UNLV, 2.5 point underdogs. Florida, also 2.5 point underdogs. Oh, we can tease that both up to 6. And the first half of that slammed door right in my face. So, again, another reason why I'm upset with Florida's performance this week. But yeah.
You left that out. All right, week 2 previews. So I've got a little bit of a different format here because some teams did not play FBS opponents. So we only give these I only assign these metrics against FBS play. So just for this week, now after this week, everybody will have at least one game against an FBS opponent. So I've just got the preseason stats or metrics coming in here at the bottom of each one of these. They might inform basically when there's not a lot of information on the top here. So Texas giving 7 at Michigan. I am hearing a lot of people that I don't respect and a lot of smart people that I do respect making up a lot of scenarios for Michigan, and I can't buy it. I just look at it. This is one game, but this is not surprising. Now, Texas played Colorado State, not an awesome defense. They did what they need to do. I'm very comfortable with their offense, passing and running. Texas, their defense is not perfect. They have questions, but I'm very comfortable saying they're more capable and competent than the Fresno State defense that limited Michigan to a 10-team apex. Michigan ran the ball a little bit. Texas ran for more too, and they can pass here. Yeah, great. Both were solid against the run again or the pass against two pretty bad offenses from a power four play. All right. Texas gave up some yards on the ground. That game was never in doubt. I'm not really worried about that. They were probably way down the depth chart. Looking at this matchup, I cannot get past this. And a lot of the narratives I hear, Michigan didn't want to put a lot on film. I can buy that if the apex is like 80 against Fresno State. Maybe that'd be a jump. If I have a team apex of 10 against Georgia, I'm deathly concerned about my team. You did this against Fresno State. If you didn't want to put anything on film and you were actually competent, You only have to go back about 5 games for Sharon Moore, and that's basically what he did against Penn State when he didn't pass the ball because he didn't need to against Penn State. Now you're back to the point where basically against Fresno State, you are not squarely behind the 8 ball, but you were in a bad position against a what I think is kind of a whatever G5 team. I think the market is so far off on this, I can't even express it. This isn't by the Clemson Georgia measure, but it's not. It's a lot closer than than most games. I'm all over Texas on this.
Yeah, so this freaks me out a bit because I was like thinking, because I knew this game was coming up, and I can't remember when it was. It might have been early Sunday, I think. Yeah, 'cause once we had all the scores the night before, because I was thinking, and I'm like, based on what Texas did and based on what Michigan did, because sometimes, obviously, I don't have my model yet. It's week 1. We don't have enough data yet, but in a few weeks I will, so I'll have a better sense of this. But I was okay because normally I'm sitting here and I run the model for this week and the future week. So normally I have a sense for what I think the line should be, and then I can immediately snap up stuff. But this time I'm like, okay, I tried to set my own lines. Like, what do I think the line in this game should be? And I'm like, there's no way I'm taking Michigan at anything under 14 and a half. There's no way
Yeah.
this is less than a 2-score game. And then I
Yep.
saw the line at 7. Actually, it was 6.5 initially, and that freaked me out. I'm like, "What is happening?" And then now this
Yeah.
line is slowly climbing up. It's up to 7.5 now, but 7.5 minus 115. But something stinks about this line. This is a trap. There is something
Mm,
wrong here. I gotta feel something's wrong here because if not, even Texas minus 7.5 feels like an absolute no-brainer. Like the
yeah.
easiest play all year. This is Texas. There's no way that they should be giving you that much value on Texas. Like everybody's going to be betting Texas this week. There's no way. There's no way that the books are just going to let that hang there and say, okay, like when I see the money split, if the split's like 80% Texas, then I have to put something on Michigan, but I don't feel confident about it. Like the only thing I could think of is the fact that Texas did have a really high. They threw a lot against Colorado State, which is weird, but okay. They usually do take it on the ground, and they were obviously able to score a lot on the ground as well. But they looked a little worse on the ground, especially early on. Maybe what they're saying is Michigan will shut down Texas defensively, and that'll keep it close, and they'll be competitive. I don't know. I still don't completely buy that, but I don't know. Something is weird about this line. Something is about this line. I'm just like, I don't think I want to touch this. I think if I had to touch this, I'd probably go. First instinct is Texas. Like a million. There's no way Texas should be less than two touchdown dogs in two touchdown favorites in there. No way they should be less than two touchdown favorites. But something is up about this line. Something is scaring me. Something's freaking me out about this line. I don't want to touch this.
You don't. Wow. Okay. You don't think it's just as simple as there's a lot of money that still has. How do I say this? Is still believing in the residue of the national champions defending the title. I
Maybe
think it's just that simple.
if the money split is even, then sure, yeah, I'll immediately grab Texas. But if not, I'm not touching Texas. If it's 80 something Texas or 70 something Texas, sure. But if it's an even split, if people are grabbing Michigan, then yeah, I'm with you. But I can't imagine Texas not getting more than like 70% of the bets. If they are, then yeah, I'm with you on Michigan. Let me see the betting numbers in the future, and let me see the betting numbers. Actually, let me call up the PFF ones. But yeah, something about this line is freaking me out because there's no way Texas isn't getting the most money here.
What was
Um,
this in the offseason, by the way?
I
Was
think
this like about less than a field goal, right?
it was a field goal. I thought, right? I thought. Where is it here? Yeah, 86% of spread cash is on Texas, but 95% of spread money is on Michigan. 95% of spread of money line is on Michigan. Texas, again, it's early. That I don't know what PFF gets their data from, but something about this is fishy to me. Something is wrong here. That's my opinion, but we'll see. We'll get better. We'll get more data later. But if the money is that lopsided, I feel like you have to bet Michigan. But I'm still scared about this line. There's something scary about this line.
One other point, since we have the preseason metrics coming in here, if you are an experienced offensive coordinator, Sharon Moore has 3 years as an offensive coordinator before this season total in his career. If you are about as good as it gets, this is a tricky situation. Whoops. In terms of how you're completely rebuilding the offensive line. At some point, I like to put some of these instances like the if this guy actually makes this happen, he's basically Nick Saban part two. Because I don't know if I would trust Nick Saban and Nick Saban's roster to do this quick of a rebuild. And it just Texas isn't the best, pretty clear like a top 10 or 12 team.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
just it's it just go
my
ahead.
take on it is this: when what was the last good defense Texas faced? Is this the best defense Texas has played in?
Oklahoma probably. Oklahoma was a really good defense last year. Actually, Iowa
Mm,
State was a good defense too.
true. Okay, yes. But even then, it's still this is still a better defense than Iowa State's. But this is probably one of the best defenses Texas has played in years.
Yeah, I it's hard to say. In fairness, it's hard to say how good they will be. I don't think they're going to be as good as last year's, but they will be good.
I would normally say that normally I'm not a big fan of Texas, but they've impressed me, and more so, Michigan has unimpressed me. But again, something about this line is freaking me out. Something about this line isn't sitting right.
I think it's spelled SARK. All right, we'll move on.
This one is interesting.
Yeah, I picked this as my upset. Now they both played FCS teams last year. Oklahoma State didn't really have too much of a problem with South Dakota. Arkansas played, I think, not Central Arkansas. I think
Arkansas
Arkansas
Pine Bluff.
Pine Bluff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they scored basically. I think they got a touchdown every time they had the ball. I'm gonna use now. I've mentioned this about 20 times already about how I'm very skeptical about Colin Klein at Texas A&M. I'm going to use your little NFL quarterback analog thing here and just say, great. Texas A&M offense was actually sneaky really good last year because they had Bobby Petrino, and now he's at Arkansas, and they have a new quarterback with Taylon Green. I think the play here, there's almost I don't see much value betting Arkansas +7 as much as +240 on the money line. This is like a proof of concept game for me. Like if Arkansas, if they're as good as I think, I don't see them losing a close game. Oklahoma
Yeah.
State, I was pretty bearish on, even though they kept on covering, which was to my frustration and chagrin. They just weren't that good last year. They weren't that good. They weren't good on offense. They stunk on defense. Now, maybe the second year defensive coordinator and returning talent improves the defense, but they were basically USC level bad last year. Arkansas had big problems, starting with Dan Enos, the horrible offensive coordinator. I think that got turned around really quickly. So I like Arkansas money line here.
Yeah, I grabbed this early. I think I grabbed this at 8.5 spread and money line. I'm with you on this. I really like this. I'm never a particularly large Oklahoma State fan. Arkansas has been a team that's been good, but has needed to turn it around. And I think 8.5 definitely was too many points. And you're giving me great value on the money line as well, so I'll take that.
That's not a small move either. Basically, to a key number is significant. Boy, this will be fun. I might just go to the box score. I don't know if I want to watch this, especially if it's at Iowa. Matt Campbell struggles in this game. I think he's maybe won it once. I think this might be one of his better chances to win it. He always screws around in that first non-conference FCS opponent game, so I'm not worried about them being a little engaged too long against who they played. I don't know, is it North Dakota, I think, or Northern Iowa? I forget who they played. Iowa State played some slappy team. I'm not going to take too much from either of those. I just think Iowa State has more competence on offense. If anything sticks out to me, that total looks really high. If you just go back to last year, every week it seemed like the total in the Iowa games were in the mid to, yeah, basically the mid 20s. I don't know where that extra 7 points is coming from, aside from Brian Ferentz being fired. That's a lot of faith in Kirk Ferentz basically letting this offense really change for the better. I don't know if I'll play. If there's any play I have on here, it would be the under, just because again, if you saw this total last early November, I'd jump all over the under here. Maybe that's my context here. Can't even say that I don't know. I like defensive battles, but this might even test my preference there. Not playing aside here. Any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I agree. This one is very iffy to me. I think I'm just going to not really touch it and just leave it alone. Cheer for Iowa here because I have the win total over. but I'm not seeing a ton of value on anything. I think I got up to 3. If it gets up to 3.5, I could 3.5, I could bite. But at 2.5, I'm not biting on that. No.
You have total over Iowa State over.
Sorry, Iowa State win total. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I might just take the under here. Just again, this number is so far. Do you remember every week the Iowa games, half those freaking Big Ten West games, you had totals like in the mid to high 20s half the time. I just think maybe the market's slow to calibrate on that. This is interesting to me just because I'm really interested to see if slash to what degree Auburn is at a disadvantage at quarterback. Um, Cal's quarterback came in from North Texas. They didn't exactly light up UC Davis. But this total's a little weird here. I don't think it's a ton of confidence the market is showing in Auburn. Just generically, Auburn would just be a bigger favorite than California. And I'm wondering if there's anything more than that than just like the market seeing we have to discount that because there's not a functional quarterback here. I I need more points to back Cal. So I'm definitely not playing Auburn at any point this season unless the market just goes haywire. But this number seems a little stinkish.
It is weird considering the fact that Cal was a little tricky spot there against UC Davis. But Auburn, I think just the thing is Auburn, like Peyton Thorne threw for 4 touchdowns, which you should immediately be like, okay, something weird happened here. I think they just stuck the dogs on them and just said score as many points as you want. And whatever, I don't think we're particularly giving sportsmanship trophies to SEC teams to not killing an FCS team. But still, though, generally you don't do that. But again, I think Auburn want to put up a big number to be like, say, we're back. We put up 70 against an FCS team. Good. You hope you feel good about yourselves there. But yeah, like the time will come to bet against Auburn. It's not this week. There will come a time, just not this week. But I don't know. This line does seem a bit short, but maybe if like in game Auburn has a big lead, maybe then you do something. But I don't know. There's just this line does seem a little short, but I don't want to touch this. This isn't the week to bet against Auburn. Don't worry, guys. We will tell you the week to bet against Auburn. We will be betting them with you, but not this week.
Stay tuned, right? This one's interesting. I think you had two teams that just really overlooked their opponents last week. They had a nice apex here, but that was against Kennesaw State, who I think is horrible. Not really an impressive GGAB for playing such a team that was a bad FCS team last season. I would also expect a better defensive showing than this. At the same time, Texas State beat Lamar by 7. Maybe both teams were looking ahead to this game. I'm thinking that they probably heard a lot about this matchup during the offseason. San Marcos, where Texas State is apparently halfway between Austin and San Antonio. So it's I'm sure it's the closest geographical rival that PSA has. Jordan McLeod was okay, but not awesome against Lamar. I just didn't see the game. Don't know if they just were holding a lot back. So I'm just relying on the preseason, and I need to be convinced by the UTSA quarterback replacing Frank Harris. So I think I'm going to grab Texas State. I would like to point out that the awesome book, he said sarcastically, known as ESPN Bet, hey, I think they have Texas State 1.5 or 2 point favorites. But if you like UTSA money line, you can get them at minus 105. Good job. What a great book that is. God bless you people for playing that crap book. I think I'm probably going to do a really small play on Texas State, but not with as much conviction as I would have a week ago.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think the thing is, I worry that, and not so much on that bet, I do Texas State here. I think this is like the bottom falling out for UTSA, right? Obviously, you lose your coach, goes to Houston, and you lose your quarterback. This could
Nope, they
be
didn't lose
like,
their coach. You're confusing them with Troy.
oh, yeah, no, sorry, that's right. Who's the coach at Houston then?
Willie Fritz from Tulane.
Oh, okay, sorry, wrong Sun Belt team that got their coach. Yeah, okay. But this is the thing, right? You lose Frank Harris.
Yep.
Maybe that was what was keeping this program intact.
It,
maybe
yeah.
not a okay, yeah, but the defense. Okay, I guess you put up a good apex against a team that we think is one of the worst teams in the league, and but you didn't shut down Kennesaw State either on defense, and you probably could have, right? I think people are gonna like
Yeah.
people look at that result and be like, oh, maybe Kennesaw State isn't that bad, but no, maybe
Uh,
they are that bad, and maybe this you're just that bad too. Yeah, I'd put Texas State here. They struggle a little bit against an FCS team, but again, that could be said for a lot of teams, right? So I don't hate Texas. I like Texas State here.
yeah, and just going back now, you shook loose a thought from the American preview. One of the reasons I'm bearish on UTSA, just you look here, this 87 Apex, you might recall that before last season, Frank Harris had some great Apexes just year after year. And they had a new offensive coordinator. And I think not every hire works out. And I think this is one that just doesn't work out. It's not a good hire. And now you've got a new quarterback that's not as maybe skilled as Frank Harris. And I think now I'm talking myself into taking Texas State for, again, I'm playing literally 0.05 units in these first 4 weeks, maybe a 0.05 instead of a literally 0.02. Yeah, the more I talk about that, I think Texas State's I'm feeling more and more comfortable with it. Speaking of Kennesaw State, maybe I'm just way wrong here. Louisiana is, I think, sneaky good, and apparently Kennesaw State is sneaky not to everybody except me. I don't see this game being close. Louisiana, as I mentioned in the Sun Belt preview, they were down to their third string quarterback at times last season, and that kid still had an apex of 100 and something last year. The offense is just well run, and now they're returning a ton on the offensive line. They played some FCS team last week. Defense should be very much improved. I again, maybe I'm just reading too much about how bad Kennesaw State is, but I don't see this. If you wanted me to bet Kennesaw State, I would need at least 30. That's just the first data point I'd go with.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think I think Kennesaw State looked roughly how we thought they would, and again, it wasn't against. They're going to be in trouble this year. I'm not really scared about my Kennesaw State under tickets so far. Louisiana, I think maybe it's up to this is up to 15 now, but I could still see them covering that pretty easily. Yeah, I do kind of I like Louisiana here. Yeah.
All right. I love that Louisiana Monroe won a game. Good for them. New coach, Bryant Vincent. I That does not undo what a complete rebuild this thing is for the Warhawks. They were horrible on offense last year. They're starting over at quarterback, starting over the offensive line. The defense stunk. The defense returns nobody. This is where you're supposed to run in my co-host and say, intervention time. Stop fading these year one rebuilding jobs, but I can't see it. UAB has probably the best quarterback in the American Conference. Louisiana Monroe does not. 12 and a half. This is almost like I would almost be like, yeah, I might be missing something here, but I think the market's just missing the brilliance of Jacob Zeno and just like the amount of the rebuild that Louisiana Monroe is looking at. So I really would be here.
Yeah, I actually agree with you. I think under 2 scores, this is very playable. I think, yeah.
Oh boy. Okay, this one might be a while here. I I have maybe if I just take the flavor ingredients of your concerns about Michigan, I'm wondering why this is only 7.5 because I don't see this as close. I don't see this as even close to close. Nebraska's defense is good. Nebraska's defense scares me, and we USC get them at home. Nebraska, I can assure you, has been wanting this rematch for basically 12 months, and they get him at home. And that's not a fun place to play when the fans really give a crap and they have something to cheer for. And they will have something to cheer for in this game. And now everybody in the state believes in Dylan Raiola. I might be talking myself to Nebraska first half as well. I could see this one just being like three punches really quick and there's a body on the floor and it's 21 to nothing.
100.
Colorado just struggled with, like I said, 12 in part one, 12 yards to a FCS quarterback. I don't get
Yeah.
it. This number, it almost stinks, but I think there's dumb money on Colorado.
No, that 100%. That is the same concern. You could make the same concern, and that's very fair. The whole, oh, this line seems short, but you have to remember that the sports book's third biggest liability for college football playoff winner is Colorado. And that's the thing. That's the thing you have to remember with this. So that's why I have zero fear here. Already bet Nebraska. Already bet Nebraska alt spreads here. Not even a question here. I already have a teaser with Nebraska and another team. I think we're talking about that team later, so I won't spoil the other half. But Nebraska down to, I think it was at that point, it was 7. I got down to Nebraska -1. Again, love Nebraska here. Absolutely love Nebraska here.
That's the ideal spot in college too. Just teasing that down to just basically a
Money line.
Yeah, good call. If this is the other part of that, then maybe that might be the play here. NC State, I don't know how much of it was just Grayson McCall getting a feel for Robert and I getting a feel for Grayson McCall. They screwed around for a little bit. Tennessee did not screw around. Now, Tennessee had had a very easy opponent. Tennessee is they have the look of the team that just, if they can score 100 on you, they will have no qualms about doing it. If you're an FBS team, I don't know what to expect with NC State. A lot of smart people I've talked to like them this season. No, I don't know. I have Tennessee to make the playoff, so I might just piggyback off your tease here, because they definitely need to win this game if they're going to make the playoff, which I think they should. I think their defense is probably a little underrated, even though they lost a lot. I think I might just do that tease that you did, because I just think these are a pretty good team and a possible playoff team here. Did you have
Yeah.
Tennessee in the playoffs? I forget. I think you
I
did
have
too, right?
Tennessee. I have Tennessee playoff. Yeah.
Yeah.
This to confirm, this is the other half of the tease, right? And it's still available. It is still available. Again, Colorado, Nebraska -7.5, a tease down to -1.5. Not a huge difference there. Still under a field goal, so that's the key number you want there. But again, like Nebraska -1, Tennessee -1.5. Oh, that's a beautiful. That feels so nice. This one is interesting. I don't understand why this one is so short. I'm assuming there is still some concern about Nico Alamalea. I think that's what this is. Because the thing is, the market seems to be massively underpricing them. They covered the spread against an FCS team, which doesn't mean much, but it does mean like they did what the market expected them to do. And again, when you're playing an FCS team like that, you massively outclass them. So you can name your score, right? They could have put 150 up if they wanted to. Obviously, you just said, fine, let's stop now. But that's the point, right? Is the fact that this team, I think, is actually really good. And I don't think the people have picked up on that quite yet. I think people were really focusing on, oh man, Georgia's good, which we knew Georgia was good. So I don't think people have quite clued in that, hey, this Tennessee team is also really good. And I think this could be the game where the people talked about Georgia after they destroyed Clemson. People talked about USC after they beat LSU. This could be Tennessee's game. Also, just one quick thing, because I forgot to mention it with Nebraska, not ranked by the AP. That is criminal. Why are you not ranking Nebraska? There are like at least 3 to 4 teams that you have ranked that should not be ranked,
You have
including
to keep a
Clemson.
spot for Clemson
Yeah, you have to
because
keep,
they had
yeah,
3 points and 189 yards.
Clemson bench warming there. But no, there's other teams in there that should not be ranked ahead of Nebraska. And it's not even like when I get and you guys go ahead, you guys do this too. It's actually cool. The AP, if you sign up online, they will email you the AP top 25, which is great because usually comes around lunch and I'm like, you get to rage click it and get angry quickly. It's actually cool to have it to your email inbox because you can just see it live when it comes out. But again, I'm like, oh, Nebraska's not top 25. They've got to be one of the top receiving votes. And it's like, no, they're like massively down the. There's no Nebraska is easily a top 25 team. I don't know what you people are doing. This is clearly a top 25 team. But
As I said in part one, pollsters are ill-informed and lazy and unable to process information in an intelligent manner. So they need it basically shoved in their face like a dog who can't figure out that this meal is actually good for them. Just like Liberty, they were late to the party, and JMU the year before. They finally got it together mid-November. Good job, guys. You only covered the sport for a living. So I'd tell you to do better, but it's probably not possible. All right. To be clear, Appalachian State at number 25, Clemson. Let's give them some respect here, okay? I'm just at a loss here. I This could go just different ways. You could be looking at this is the classic Clemson redemption spot. They're at home. This might be a function of just how much do you have faith in App State's quarterback. I think he's probably one of the top three in the Sun Belt, top in the Sun Belt East, except maybe for Ethan Vasco now. But that's a different animal going against Clemson, good defense. I'm not going to read too much into struggling against Georgia on defense, but was App State's defense plucky enough to make Clemson really just keep on doing stupid things? I'm not sure. I'm not going to bet Clemson here for sure. If there's one side I would be betting, it would be App State, but I'm not sure I have the gumption to do that. I'm much more comfortable in other games, but this is one that's definitely worth talking about. I'm stuck here in terms of a play. Do you have any feelings on playing this one?
I don't know. This one is really iffy. I don't want to touch this one. I don't know.
I wouldn't
But
be surprised. Let's start with this. I would not be shocked at all if App State scores 3 points or 0 points.
yeah.
Is that, yeah, that's what you're stuck with here with Clemson's good defense.
See, App
Um,
State has been a team that's had upsets in the past, specifically against North Carolina, Texas A&M. But
you
this
know,
will be the best defense that they've played in quite a long time, right? Clemson shut them down, yeah. But then can Clemson score points? This is probably among their worst defenses that they're playing against, right? It's iffy. I don't love it. It is but again, it's not a huge distance. You're not going cross country here. App State is Appalachia, and Clemson is Appalachian adjacent. It's I don't know. I don't want to touch this one. I want to see the outcome of this one, and maybe watch this one if it's close. But I don't want to touch this one.
yeah, is this going to be? Let me just pull this up real quick. Is this one of those? Is this an ABC game that we might be? It should be, right? There's not like a ton of like headline games here. It's on the ACC network. Come on, guys, do better than that. Oh, that's a shame. All right, one game that we don't have up here, but I'm just curious because we talked about it at the end of part one, and I just found it completely unbettable because you have probably 12 different narratives for each team, and that is Oregon giving, what is it, 18 and a half, 19
19,
ish?
19 now, 19 now.
Yeah, at home to Boise State. Boise State's defense was extremely obliging to a first time starter at Georgia Southern under Clay Helton. That should alarm you if you are thinking about backing Boise State. The Oregon rushed for less than 3 yards per attempt against Idaho at home. That should alarm you if you're a Ducks fan. I Now, if I'm talking through it a little bit, during the Mountain West preview, I did say I was, now we're getting told the stupid things that I say that are jokes and not. It didn't make sense to me when the weak part of the Boise State team last year was the defense to promote the defensive coordinator, Spencer Danielson. Now, there's also the other side of it about the real head coach is actually the offensive coordinator in name only, Dirk Cutter. Maybe the other narrative is just this is now like the new gag with Boise State that they just do stupid things for 4 weeks and somebody gets fired and Dirk Cutter just asserts his control again. And we're before that part of the season. Yeah, I get going back to if I had a concern about Boise, it's not the offense, it's the defense coming in. And that was, I don't want to say it was confirmed, but it was basically exposed as an area to be concerned about. I don't, I'd be surprised if Oregon struggles all year to run the ball as we saw last week. Maybe that's the angle here. You're an Oregon guy. This is going to be, this could be a fun game to watch, or it might be just, again, three punches and one guy's on the floor and it's 21-0, which would not surprise me. Wide variances of things that can happen. This is almost like a grown up, like competent version of UCLA at Hawaii, where there's a wide range of outcomes that would not surprise me. Are you of the same thinking here?
There's concerns. I am not. I just. I'm holding on to the fact that the stat line looked like it should have been a blow and it just wasn't. But it is concerning. I am very concerned about this game. I don't know. I don't know. This isn't okay. They're going to lose. This is okay. This is going to be close, and then you're going to start calling into question: is this team competitive with the rest of the Big Ten? Right? Because that's what this is. This isn't
Mhm.
like do they win this game? If they win this game by 7, then you're like, oh, right. So I don't know. I want to see the outcome. I'm not touching this. Maybe like a Dylan Gabriel over passing touchdowns or something, or over yardage or something. But I'm not. I don't think I'm touching this game outside of props. I'm not touching the spread at least for sure.
Yeah, and I guess the other thing too is just to go back to the Michigan nerve that we talked about. If you don't want to put anything on film, why would you have Dylan Gabriel throwing the ball? Like he threw it like 47 times,
Yeah,
and maybe that's just hey, new guy, got to get him reps in new system. Great. That's just I don't know. Oregon can erase a lot of questions if they. I don't know. Then if they do that, then I'm wondering maybe Boise's defense does stink, and they need I don't know some more Palace intrigue to fix things as is their new thing here. Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's either Oregon by a lot or Oregon by a little. I don't see Boise hanging on. God, that defense was just you're not you have to be so much better than you were last week at Georgia Southern. Even if you were looking ahead, Jesus, come on. That's a brand new quarterback that he literally I don't know if he'd thrown a pass before that game. That was just bad. And so since we have some time here, just really quick, USC, my team's in an interesting spot, coming off a big win. They're at home. This would have peril written all over it were it not for, thought he said, 8 p.m. after a big win. This is like too late. This is not like 8 p.m. in Death Valley. This is 8 p.m. In a spot where people are like, oh, that's late. I have to get up early tomorrow. You're going to interfere with my brunch at the marina. I think it'll be a dead crowd, which would be a little bit of a concern. But for the fact that USC plays Utah State, this is another one of those Phil Steele misses. Bryson Barnes actually got the start instead of Spencer Petras last week. I think that actually works to USC's favor because you might recall a game that every USC fan desperately wanted to win was Utah last season, and Bryson Barnes actually led Utah to a last-second field goal to win that game. That was the game that got Alex Grinch fired. So I think, if anything, that could really sneakily get USC's advantage. That might be the one thing just to keep them from being just like coming out as dead as I would otherwise expect with everything else lining up for this. Also, I believe that this is going to be the Trojans' debut on the Big Ten Network, which will be interesting.
yeah,
Let me just confirm that. Yeah, Big Ten Network, 8 p.m. Big Ten After Dark. That's the new normal, kids. Maybe the other thing too is I'll get into this a little more. I think I'll do a deeper dive. We didn't do a deeper dive this week. It looked like USC, and I did a halftime hypothesis with Ribeye Ray and Johnny Tip about USC. I said I think that Lincoln Riley is really leaning into the complementary football. He wasn't like just saying, "Okay, I've got these awesome wide receivers. I'm going to just spread everything out and just try to score touchdowns and get 500 yards by halftime." The pace seemed slower, and it seemed a lot closer to the line of scrimmage. The offense was. And I think that you can have just a lower scoring game than people expect off of that win, where I think he might really just try to lean into and further develop that complementary offensive football that he needs. I think he realized that he can be good and he can have an awesome offense like he needed on that last drive, but he needs to basically take a little bit air out of the ball and give his defense more chance. And that might have been something that Danton Lynn and Matt Entz and Henderson, the new defensive guys, insisted on about coming in. I'm quite the salesman. Hey, tune in at 11 p.m. Eastern to watch USC just take the air out of the ball and win by 10 points. Yay.
this could be. The thing is, again, LSU not the greatest defense last year, but their defense could have improved from last year, right? So this could be the
They
kind
looked
of
a lot more competent.
yeah, they did look a lot better, right? And that's the Brian Kelly effect. This is year 3 now. He's improving the program, right? So this could be the kind of Miller Moss. Okay, now like last week looked good, a lot of passing yards. This could be where he really starts racking up the stats, where you have 300 yards, 3 touchdowns by the half, right? Like that kind of game. So that could be what we're looking at this week for USC.
Wow, I see it the other way. I think that he's gonna try to develop some of these younger running backs that are really not established behind Woody Marks, who was turned out to be so far an excellent transfer from Mississippi State. So That is it for part two. A little shorter than usual, but believe me, once we get into stuff like deeper dives next week, part two will be much longer. Yeah. So, Robert, well done as always. I like where we agree on plays. That's probably where I'm going to limit to this week. Any final comments?
No, it's just it's nice to have football back for sure.
It is. As always, thank you everyone for watching, listening, viewing, and thank you, college football, for being an awesome sport. We will see you all in 1 week. Thanks again.
See everybody.